y'all. So I just started, and I'm not even completely ready, but we're gonna get into it quickly. So we're gonna read the Demonology of King James live. I'm gonna read book three, and most time when we finish it tonight, be done with the whole thing. So I'm just gonna finish getting set up, and then I'm gonna start reading. I'm also share this and be right back. Y'all might want to get a drink, snack, something like that. I might have to get the camera set up, or we'll see. We'll see. I thought it was good, but we'll see. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. All right, so I'm getting my highlighters. That's one thing I don't have out yet. I was in the process of getting it ready, but I was just so ready to go. So, yeah. This is about the only time I use these highlighters. Well. Lately, it's been like that kind of. Oh man. I'm missing one. The blue. What's blue? Oh, there it is. Buried deep up in there. I use the gel twistable highlighters because they don't bleed through the Bibles and books as easy as other ones. The other ones, all the other ones I've ever tried, always bled through my pages and Bibles and stuff. And I ain't like that. So these gel twistable highlighters, best ones I can find for that. They kind of like crayons. If you, I'm sure a lot of y'all have experienced crayons before. Kind of just like that. Gonna get ready to open this book. I see the camera is not proper either, but I'll get with that in a minute. 2 minutes in. It's gonna let me cold. I thought it was gonna get cold on me. So if you all have this book, let's see, I'm on page 54 and 55. Now yours might be a little different than mine, but I'm on the third book in the book of Demonology, and I'll be starting from there. Let's see, it's about 75 pages total of the whole book. So yeah, it's gonna be like a 20-page read. And the book is kind of small, so it's not gonna be too bad. All I see is talking about Esau. Hmm. Hmm. I'm gonna see how this hoodie works. That was my plan. Man, I think I connected. In case we have trouble on my mobile data, matter of fact, we'll just use Wi-Fi. Because I just saw it reconnect. Maybe the mobile data isn't better than the Wi-Fi right now. So we'll see. We'll see. Alright, so I'm about 4 minutes in, I guess. I'm gonna just put this hoodie on and we can get started. Bam. So ready to do it live. Yeah. I came in early. I do that all the time, though. I'm starting not to like hoodies as much as like zip up hoodies. They're more comfortable. Like this part where it's kind of tight and it's like the back of it touches my neck and my head easier. It gets on my nerves, especially when I'm driving. The seat pushes it up against me. I'll be like, oh, it getting on my nerves. Now the front getting on my nerves. See what I'm saying? With the zip up, you can zip it down and like move it to the side a little bit so it won't be so close to you. Anyway, let's go. I think we're good enough on this camera. Let me see. Try moving it back a little bit. Oh, I know what I can do. I just figured it out. Let me see how that looks. Oh, bam. Well, all right. So we're gonna get into it. Demonology, third book. I feel like that was a long intro, but I was ready. Maybe I can cut it down. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So it says, this one is titled, this is the heading for it. It says, The Division of Spirits in Four Principal Kinds. The description of the first kind of them, called spectra and umbrae mortuum. What is the best way to be free of their trouble? This is interesting because it sounds like we're about to learn about how to fight demons. So, let's read. It says 5. It says, pray you now then, go forward in telling what you think fabulous or may be done in that case. Epi, the kind of devils. When I say Phi and Epi, those names are shortened for the people that's talking. Just so people, if you knew, that's how I go. So it says Epi, the kind of devils conversing in the earth may be divided in 4 different kinds. Man, that reminds me of that movie, The Fourth Kind. I don't know why, but it just made me think about 4 different kinds. Yeah, well, anyway, let's keep going. Divided in 4 different kinds, whereby they frighten and trouble the bodies of men. For of the abusing of the soul I have spoken already. The first is where spirits trouble some houses or solitary places. Man, let me put a note next to this. Haunted houses. Okay. So it goes on to say, the second, where spirits follow certain people and at divers hours trouble them. The third, wow, I just thought about that last one. And because I think other people I know have gone through that. But let's keep going. It says, the third, when they enter within, hold on. I've been trying to clear my throat, but it ain't working. Might have to get some cold water. That ain't cold, but we'll see. Okay, it says the third. My bad. I have this little space heater next to me and it made the sound throw me off. So it says the third, when they enter within them and possess them, showing that people can be possessed. Interesting. I don't want to make a note next to that, but it says the fourth is the kind of spirits that are called vulgarly the fairies. Of the 3 former kinds, you have heard already how they may artificially be made by witchery to trouble folks. Man. Then he goes on to say, now, it rests to speak of their natural coming, as it were, and not raised by witchcraft. But generally, I must forewarn you of one thing before I enter in this propose, that is, that although in my discoursing of them I divide them in divers kinds, you must notwithstanding thereof note my phrase of speaking in that, for doubtlessly they are in effect but all one kind of spirits, who for abusing the more of mankind take on these sundry shapes, and uses divers forms of outward action, as if some were of nature better than other. Now I return to my propose. I'm on page 55 now. I don't know if it's the same for you, but I'm in the third book and I'm on page 55. Now it might be a little different for you, but the heading was, it says, the division of spirits in 4 principal kinds, the description of the first kind of them called spectra and umbrae mortorum. What is the best way to be free of their trouble? That's a little paragraph, but that's how it, that's the heading. If you see that, I don't know if you see it, and it starts off like this, just in case you catch it. It says, 5. Pray you now, then go forward in telling what you think fabulous or may be done in that case. Maybe that'll help. Um, and I read Phi and Epi's. Actually, I'm still on Epi, what he's saying, but for me, I had to well, it's on the second page now, so I read about an essay of Epi for now, and I'm at the part where it says, now I return to my propose. I'm at that part, and then it says, as to the first kind of these spirits that were called by the ancients by divers names, according as their actions were. For if they were spirits that haunted houses, wow, he actually said it. Okay, like haunted houses, because I had wrote a note on the next page when he was talking about their trouble houses and places and stuff like that. Yeah, solitary places. Wow. But it flat out says it right here. Okay, so it says, for if they were spirits that haunted houses by appearing in divers and horrible forms and making great noises, wow, they were called lemurs or lemuries or spectra. If they appeared in likeness of any defunct to some friends of his, they were called umbra mortorum, and so innumerable visages they had, according to their actions, as I have said already, as we see by experience how many appearances they have given them in our language. In the like manner, of the appearing of these spirits, we are certified by the scriptures, where the prophet Esau, I don't know who they talking about, but it says where the prophet Esau, could we just talk about Esau, but let's see, where the prophet Esau in the 13th and 34th chapters, what? Esau don't got no book. Let me just keep reading. Could be another prophet, but they just translated it as Esau. I don't know. Let's keep going. The 13th and 34th chapters. Is somebody Ezekiel? I don't know. Let's keep going. 34th chapters, threatening the destruction of Babel and Edom. I don't know. I'll probably figure that out one day. Declares that it shall not only be wrecked, but shall become so great a solitude as it shall be the inhabitants of howling spirits. Oh man, that sounds familiar. Is that Isaiah? I think it's Isaiah. Because I think the book of Isaiah talks about, yeah, I think it's Isaiah. I don't know why they call it Esau, but I'm looking in Isaiah right now. I think it's Isaiah 34. I remember Isaiah 34 got the Lilith in it. People, yeah, okay, I see they talk about the Satar in verse 14. Let's see. The wild beast. Is Babel in this at all? I see Bozrah. The great slaughter in the land of Idumea. I'm just skimming it to see what's all in here. Princes. Okay, verse 13. And thrones shall come up in her places, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof, and it shall be an habitation of dragons and a court of owls. The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl, which is in Hebrew Lilith, the screech owl also shall rest there and find for herself a place of rest. Let me see if I see Babel. This could be the wrong place, but I don't see Babel in here. Might have to look somewhere else. Could be another prophet. Babel and Edom. Now I saw Edom, but I didn't see Babel. Maybe I got to read the whole thing. Anyway, so it was saying that this place was going to be wrecked. It said that it shall not only be wrecked in demonology, but shall become so great a solitude as it shall be the inhabitants of howling spirits and of Zim and Ayim, which are the proper Hebrew names of these spirits. The cause, while they haunt solitary places, it is by reason that they may terrorize and drive off the more of faith of such as them alone haunts such places. For our nature is such, as in companies we are not so soon moved to any such kind of fear, as being solitary, which the devil knowing well enough, he will, man, I need to highlight that. Yeah, okay, got it. Let's see, as being solitary, which the devil knowing well enough, he will not therefore assail us, but when we are weak. Yeah, that makes sense. I gotta highlight this. Let's see. I already got some of it highlighted, but I just want to get that part in completely. Okay, and I'm making a note. Make a note. Hold on. What am I gonna say? Okay, got it. I just put Satan comes when you're weak. Makes sense. That's how some people go gay. Let's just say I was weak and he came, tried to get me to turn, but no, I couldn't do it. So anyway, it says, and besides that, God will not permit him so to dishonor the societies and companies of Christians, as in public times and places to walk visibly among them. On the other part, when he troubles certain houses that are dwelt in, it is a it is a sure token or sign either of gross ignorance or of some gross and slanderous sins among the inhabitants thereof, which God by that extraordinary rod punishes. That's deep. Okay. 5. But by what way or passage can these spirits enter in these houses, seeing they allege that they will enter? Gotta turn the page. Even while the doors and windows are locked. Epi, they will choose the passage for their entrance according to the form that they are in at that time. For if they have assumed a dead body in which they lodge themselves, they can easily enough open without noise any door or window and enter in thereat. And if they enter as a spirit only, any place where the air may come in at is large enough at entry for them. For as I said before, a spirit can occupy no quantity. 5. And will God then permit these wicked spirits to trouble the rest of a dead body before the resurrection thereof? Or if he shall seal so, I think it should be of the reprobate only. Epi. What more is the rest troubled of a dead body, when the devil carries it out of the grave to serve his turn for a space, nor when the witches takes it up and powder it, or when as swine roots up the graves. The rest of them that the scripture speaks of is not meant by a local remaining continual in one place, but by their resting from their travels and miseries of this world, while their latter conjunction again with the soul at that time to receive full glory in both, and that the devil may use as well as the ministry of the bodies of the faithful in these cases. Interesting. Um, as of the unfaithful, there is no inconvenience, for his haunting with their bodies after they are dead can in no way defile them in respect of the soul's absence. Ha ha ha. And for any dishonor it can be to them, by what reason can it be greater than the hanging, heading, or many such shameful deaths that good men will suffer? For there is nothing in the bodies of the faithful more worthy of honor, or freer from corruption by nature, nor in these of the unfaithful, until such time they be purged and glorified in the latter day. As in daily seen, as is daily seen by the vile diseases and corruptions that the bodies of the faithful are subject to, as you will see clearly proved when I speak of the possessed and the demonics. Okay, let me highlight this. The possessed and demonics. All right, got it. 5. Yet there are sundry that affirm to have haunted such places, where these spirits are alleged to be, and could never hear nor see anything. Epi, I think well, for that is only reserved to the secret knowledge of God, whom he will permit to see such things, and whom not. 5. But where these spirits haunt and trouble any houses, what is the best way to banish them? Epi, by two means may only the remedy of such things be procured. The one is ardent prayer to God. I'm not sure what ardent means. That could be honest. Why not look it up? Let's see. I be having other people look these things up for me while I be reading. Ardent. There it is. Ardent, definitely. It's a popular word, I see. It says fervent, zealous, burning, glowing, enthusiastic, or passionate. Oh, okay, I can go with passionate. I'm good now. That was easy. Oh, I see earnest as a substitute. Emotional, wholehearted, committed, dedicated, vehement, intense, fierce, sincere. Okay, well, I was basically right. All right, so let me close this laptop. Okay. All right. So this is how he is saying to fight demons. He say the one is ardent prayer to God, both of these persons that are troubled with them, and of that church whereof they are. The other is the purging of themselves by adamant of life from such sins as have procured that extraordinary plague. And that sounds like fasting. Sounds like cleansing themselves, or sounds like what the Essene Gospel of Peace was talking about. I'm making it up. I'll just leave it at that one. Okay. And then it says 5. And what means these kinds of spirits? When they appear in the shadow of a person newly dead, or to die, to his friends. Epi, when they appear upon that occasion, they are called riots in our language. Among the Gentiles, the devil used that much um, to make them believe that it was some good spirit that appeared to them then, either to forewarn them of the death of their friend, or else to discover to them the will of the defunct, um, or what was the say of his slaughter, as it is written in the book of the histories prodigious. Oh, I never heard of that. And then it says, and this way he easily, make sure I'm reading right, and this way he easily deceived the Gentiles because they knew not God. Man, sounds like something we was talking about earlier. Des, and let's keep going. Um, and to that same effect is it that he now appears in that manner to some ignorant Christians. Sorry, it's kind of funny. Okay, then it says, for he dare not so delude any that knows that, neither can the, still trying not to laugh, neither can the spirit of the defunct return to his friend, or yet an angel use such a form. Ew. So angels wouldn't take the form of dead people, according to this. I don't know any other sources that says this, but that's good to see. If it's true, cool. Let me I think that'll make sense because I never read a scripture where they did do that though. Interesting. Let's keep going. So it says 5. And are not our war wolves one sort of these spirits also, that hunt and trouble some houses or dwelling places? Ep. There have indeed been an old opinion of such like things, for by the Greeks they were called. Oh, God, and again. Okay. For by the Greeks they were called lycanthropes. Lycanthropes. They got lichen in it. Reminds me of the lichens. Okay, but let's keep going. So then it says, which signifies wolfman. Dang, that's what a lichen is, according to that movie Underworld. That's what I was thinking about. And it just said wolfman. Interesting. Okay. Then it says, but to tell you, let me read this again. Hold on. Epi, there have indeed been an old opinion of such like things, for by the Greeks they were called lycanthropes, which signifies wolfmen. But to tell you simply my opinion in this, if any such thing has been, I take it to have proceeded but of a natural superabundance of melancholy, which was, which as we read, that it has made some think themselves pictures, and some horses, and some one kind of beast or other. So suppose that it has so vivid the imagination and memory of some, as per Lucida in Tarula, something like that. Themselves, wait, I skipped a line. In Tarula, it has so highly occupied them that they have thought themselves to be wolves indeed at these times, and so have counterfeited their actions in going on their hands and feet, pressing to devour women and livestock, fighting and snatching with all the town dogs, and in such like, in using such like other brutish actions, and so to be beasts by a strong apprehension, as Nebuchadnezzar, one of the kings of Babylon, it was 7 years, but as to their having and hiding of their hard and beast-like sloths or slows, I take that to be but folly. But I'm sorry, then it says, by uncertain report, the author of all lies. Now we're on chapter 2. Are you caught up with me? I might pronounce your name wrong. I'm gonna just say Des. Are you caught up now? Are you with me? Okay, I think you are. I think you are. Yes, okay, okay. So now we're on chapter 2. So this part, I'm gonna just start trying to read some of these headings because I be skipping these. I be just reading the book. It says the description of the next two kinds of spirits, whereof the one follows outwardly, the other possesses inwardly. Okay, the other possesses inwardly the persons that they trouble. Man. That since all prophecies and visions are now ceased, all spirits that appear in these forms are evil. Okay. So this last part is a doctrine that I don't agree with. Because King James and certain Christians believe that all prophecies have ceased, stopped. I disagree. But let's keep going. Chapter 2. It says, 5. Come forward now to the rest of these kinds of spirits. Epi. As to the next two kinds, that is, either these that outwardly troubles and follows some person, or else inwardly possess them. Man. Whew. I will conjoin them in one, because as well the causes are alike in the persons that they are permitted to trouble. Man, it sounds like it's a few scriptures where people were allowed to be troubled. King Saul, 2 Samuel. Let me get that. Let me get this one. Hold on a minute. I'll at least get one. Gotta think about how they worded it. The Lord sent a evil spirit. What's up, Bebop? Hold on, let me look for this scripture. Sent the evil spirit to torment. Oh, there it is right there. There we go. Okay. 1 Samuel 16, 14 through 23. Okay. 1 Samuel 16. I thought it was either verse 16 or, chapter 16 or 14. 16. I think I'll just read it from the book so I can cross-reference maybe. We'll see. 1 Sam 16. What verses? Hold on. 14. Okay. So this is when David was anointed. I'm gonna read what you said real quick because this is like a few verses. Bebop says, "Hi, yo, what's up? Haven't seen you in a while, by the way. Like your pictures were reminding me of you because I like Bebop the name when I first said it, I didn't even recognize that name, but the picture, yeah, I remember you now. Hi, yo. We'll be back to re-listen with captions. This is a great topic. God bless. Appreciate it. May He bless you too. All right, so this is the cross reference that I thought about, one of them. So this is in 1 Samuel 16, 12 through 23. It says, and he sent and brought him in. You know what? I'm going to read from the book because my laptop is like diagonally this way and it makes me turn to read it because I got the phone in front of me. So I'm going to just read it from the book. I can just look down at this. I'm yawning again. It ain't but 7 o'clock. So sad. Chapter what? 14? 16? Okay, 16, 14, 12, or 12. Okay, it says, and he sent and brought him in. Now, he was ready. It's talking about David, just so y'all know. He was ready and with all of a beautiful countenance and goodly to look on, to look to. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came on David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him, or terrified him. And Saul's servants said to him, Behold now, an evil spirit from God trouble you. So they even knew it. And then it goes on to say, Let our Lord now command your servant, which are before you, to seek out a man who is a cunning player on an harp. And it shall come to pass, when the evil spirit from God is on you, that he shall play with his hand, and you shall be well. And you keep reading it, but they basically found David. He was the one who played the harp, the one who was anointed, and yeah, it was a trip. So that's one way to fight demons. Somebody who can play the harp very well. So wait, I didn't cross-reference this. Let me make sure I cross-reference that. 1 Samuel 16:14 through 23. You see how I'm doing this, Des? Because it's kind of like what I said earlier. I read this before and I had to study this a few times. And when I read that, I remembered it. And I was able, like this book in Demonology, don't give me any cross references, but I remembered it. So I was able to like remember how the verse words it and just find it online. I could have found it other ways too, but then all I gotta do is write in a cross reference. Bam. So 16, 12 through 23. Yeah, we'll do that. So I'm gonna just write it in right now. Okay, you say, yes, this is great practice. Yeah. So now I just gotta find the part that relates to this in Demonology too. And this is Demonology book 3, chapter 2. I think I'm gonna write this one at the bottom because this is a lot to write. Let's see. He says, Epi as to the next two kinds, that is either these, that outwardly troubles and follow some person, or else inwardly possess them, I will conjoin them in one, because as well the causes are like in the persons that they are permitted to trouble. Right there, that's the one. The persons they are permitted to trouble. Right there. I had to highlight that. That's the part. I'm gonna put my cross reference right there. No, 1 Samuel. That's true. 1 Sam 16, 12 through 23. Okay. This is how I be studying when I'm by myself. Where we at? 1 Samuel 16, 12. I'm gonna put it right here. You know what? It's no verses in Demonology, so I gotta make up verses. That makes it a challenge. I'm gonna just have to put Demonology book 2. I mean chapter 2, because it's no verses. So, oh well, I have to work that out. So let's keep going. So then it says, after it says, the persons, back to Demonology, the persons that they are permitted to trouble, as also the ways whereby they may be remedied and cured. 5. What kind of persons are they that may be troubled? Epi, 2 kinds in special, either such as being guilty of grievous offenses, God punishes by that horrible kind of scourge, or else by being persons of the best nature, peradventure, that you shall find in all the country about them, God permits them to be troubled in that sort. This reminds me of the book of Job. But let's keep going. And then it says, I think that's Job 2:7, maybe. Forget that. Let's keep going. And then it says, where was I at? God permits them to be troubled in that sort for the trial of their patience. Sounds just like Job. And wakening up of their zeal, for admonishing of the beholders not to trust over much in themselves, since they are made of no better stuff, and peradventure blotted with no smaller sins, as Christ said, speaking of them, on whom the tower in Siloam fell, and for giving likewise to the spectators matter to praise God, that they meriting no better, and yet spared from being corrected in that fearful form. 5. These are good seasons for the part of God, which apparently moves him so to permit the devil to trouble such persons. But since the devil has ever a contrary respect in all the actions that God employs him in, which is, I ask you, the end and mark he shoots at in this term, epi, it is to obtain one of two things thereby. If he may, the one is the tinsel of their life, by including them, by inducting them. Oh goodness, I mispronounced this twice. By inducing them, which I don't even know what it means, but anyway, by okay, I'll look it up. Let's see what this means. Induce reminds me of seduce, but I don't know what it means. Succeed in persuading or influencing to do something. Yeah, so it's kind of like seduce. Okay. Synonyms: persuade, convince, get, make, prompt. Okay, that's easy. Okay. So let's go back. So it says, epi, it is to obtain one of two things thereby, if he may. The one is the tinsel of their life, by inducing them to such perilous places at such time as he either follows, try to turn page, or possesses them. Okay. Which may procure the same, and such like, so far as God will permit him, by tormenting them to weaken their body, and cast them in incurable diseases. Ha! Like AIDS. Just saying. Well, I mean, it can be cured, but you know what I'm saying? At one point, people, whatever. The other thing that he presses to obtain by troubling of them is the tinsel of their soul, by enticing them to mistrust and blaspheme God, either for the intolerable nature of their torments, as he essayed to have done with Job. They're talking about Job. All right. Then it says, or else for his promising to them to leave the troubling of them, in case, trying to make sure I ain't skipping a line, in case they would so do, as is known by experience at this same time, by the confession of a young one that was so troubled. 5. Since you have spoken now of both these kinds of spirits, comprehending them in one, I must now go back again and asking some questions of every one of these kinds in special. And first, for these that follows certain persons, you know that there are two sorts of them. One sort that troubles and torments the person that they haunt with. Another sort that are serviceable to them in all kind of their necessaries, and omits never to forewarn them of any sudden peril that they are to be in. And so in this case, I would understand whether both these sorts be but wicked and damned spirits, or if the last sort be rather angels. as should appear by their actions, sent by God to assist such as he specially favors. For it is written in the scriptures that God sends legions of angels to guard and watch over his elect. Pt. I know well enough where from that error which you allege has proceeded, for it was the ignorant Gentiles that were the fountain thereof, who for that they knew not God, they forced in their own imaginations every man to be still accompanied with two spirits, whereof they called the one genius bonus, the other genius malice. The Greeks called them similarly, whereof the former they said persuaded him to all the good he did. Oh man, it sounds like what they call the good and bad spirit. I forgot what they call it, but dang, it's a word for it. But whatever. Let's keep the content. Yeah, they call it that. I think that's what they call it. And then they'll show like, yeah. So anyway, they will say, it says Greeks called them similarly, whereof the former they said persuaded him to do all the good he did, the other enticed him to all the evil. But praise God, we that are Christians and walk not among the Cimmerian conjunctures of man, we know well enough that it is the good spirit of God only, who is the fountain of all goodness, that persuades us to the thinking or doing of any good, and that is, I skip it, and that it is our corrupted flesh of Satan that entices us to to the contrary. And yet the devil, for confirming in the heads of ignorant Christians that error first maintained among the Gentiles, he wiles, I'm just making sure I'm not skipping a line, he wiles among the first kind of spirits that I speak of, appeared in the time of papistry and blindness, and haunted divers houses without doing any evil, but doing as it were necessary, turned up and down the house. And this spirit they called Brownie in our language, who appeared like a rough man. Yeah, some were so blinded as to believe that their house was all the better, as they called it, that such spirits resorted there. Then it says 5. But since the devil's intention in all his actions is ever to do evil, what evil was there in that form of doing, since their actions outwardly were good? Epi, was it not evil enough to deceive simple ignorance in making them to take him for an angel of light, and so to account of God's enemy as of their particular friend, whereby the contrary, all we that are Christians ought, wow. So I just noticed this, that King James was a Christian. He was calling himself a Christian. But let's keep going. All we that are Christians ought assuredly to know that since the coming of Christ in the flesh and establishing of his church by the apostles, all miracles, visions, prophecies, and appearances of angels or good spirits are ceased. And this is where I disagree. Let's see. I don't know if I need to make this part stand out, but let's keep going. And then it says, which served only for the first sowing of faith and planting of the church. Where now the church being established, yeah, that's definitely false, because like this statement where he says, unless he was meaning it more of a percentage and not completely not happening anymore, because if he means this just doesn't happen anymore, he's incorrect. And he should know that, because in Acts, an angel did appear to, who was it? Cornelius, when he was fasting, or after he was fasting. I think he was fasting or praying, one of them. It's in Acts chapter 10, but so it's either he was meaning it like most of the time that this stuff won't happen anymore. I'm gonna just read it again and keep going. He says, all we that are Christians ought assuredly to know that since the coming of Christ in the flesh and establishing of his church by the apostles, all, he uses the word all though. He says all miracles, visions, prophecies, and appearances of angels or good spirits are seen. No, that's incorrect. I can prove that. But anyway, I'll just put Acts 10. Let's see. False. And I'll just put Acts 10. Um, Glad I read that because some Christians or preachers teach the same thing, but Acts 10, bam. Okay, let's just keep going. So then it says, which served only for the first sowing of faith and planting of the church, where now the church being established, and the white horse whereof I spake before, having made his conquest, the law, and prophets, hold on. Yeah, the law and prophets are thought sufficient to serve us. Okay. Sounds like King James' opinion now. But anyway, let's keep going. Well, so he did admit some of this was his opinion. That's a good thing. But let's keep going. So it says, just to recap it all, which served only for the first sowing of faith and planting of the church, where now the church being established and the white horse whereof I spake before, having made his conquest, the law and prophets are thought sufficient to serve us, or make us inexcusable, as Christ saith in his parable of Lazarus and the rich man. I know what he's talking about, but I think this is King James' opinion. Because this is basically the same. I know you wasn't here to read the whole thing or didn't read the whole book. That's or I don't want to say your name wrong, but if you still here, or to anybody that's watching, and if you didn't read this whole thing, if you're just hearing this part, if you've read this whole thing so far, and then you get to this part, you will kind of see it how I see it. Plus, if you know and read everything I know and studied what I know, this seems to be his opinion based on Acts 10 and maybe more, but definitely more. Then he's saying that the law and the prophets are thought sufficient to serve us. Thought to serve, well, thought sufficient. No, that's not sufficient for me. I need more. I'm one of them people that need more than just the Old New Testament and things like that. I need more. I need a little bit more. I was just one of them people. So this is to me his opinion. Because some people are content with just the Old and New Testament. Not me. So, but yeah, this is definitely his opinion. From what I'm getting now, the parable he's talking about of Lazarus and the rich man, that's in Luke 19:16 through 31. And it's a good parable. But what he's trying to say is, it's a point in there, which I thought of lately, where it talks about how it was the rich man, they had both died. Lazarus and the rich man died. And they were in the underworld, and there was two sections that they spoke about. It was a side where it was Abraham's bosom, which was peaceful, and it was the other side where it was hell and it was hot, and people were being tormented, and the rich man was over there, he was being tormented. And he asked Abraham to allow Lazarus to dip his hand in water and have him bring it to him and let a water drop in his mouth because it was so hot. And I gotta move those cords down there. That's never happened. Okay. But anyway, and so Abraham said, well, basically, to continue on the story, it goes a little further down in the story, and then the rich man said to Abraham, he was like, remember in your life, you received good things. You had your good stuff, and Lazarus in his life received bad things. You know, he had the opposite. Like this rich dude had the good life, he had everything. And he was selfish with his stuff, wouldn't give Lazarus nothing. But now Lazarus is dead. They're both dead, but Lazarus is in a comforting place with Abraham, and he got water, and he's living. He's good. The rich man is tormented, and he's hot, and he's thirsty, and he can't get anything to drink. And so the rich man was. He felt this place was so bad. He said, Abraham, allow Lazarus to go up, or some dead spirit to go up and warn his brothers not to come into this place. And he was like, son, if they won't hear Moses and the prophets, which is another way of saying the law and the prophets, which is what uh, King James was talking about here. He said, the law and the prophets are thought sufficient to serve us. And he was saying, if they won't hear Moses and the prophets, then they won't believe, even though somebody rose from the dead. So basically, if somebody came from the dead to warn his brothers that your brother's in hell, it's a bad place, and he wanted us to come and warn you so you don't go there too. Abraham was saying, if they won't believe them, they ain't gonna believe that. They ain't gonna believe it anyway, even if somebody rose from the dead to tell them. And I go by that too, but still, like King James, King James, this is his opinion. I'm sorry, you just got to be well studied to see that and know that the law and prophets are good for people to, and it's about faith. So this is what it comes down to. The law and prophets are sufficient or good for people to gain faith in God, Jesus, the Bible, the commandments, and things like that. But if he's saying well, he just said law and the prophets, so I don't even got to disagree with him on that part. But the part that I disagree with is about the appearances of angels, miracles, prophecies being ceased or ended. No, that's the part I disagree with. So I'll take back my I won't worry about this last part. We're good on that last part. But that part, I disagree with that. Okay. So, and I actually got proof that's not true. So let's keep going. And am I on the last? I'm on chapter 3. Yeah, I'm on chapter 3 now. That was a lot. That was a lot. Okay, let's keep going. So it says, I need something to drink that's cold. I'm going to the kitchen. I'll be back. I got this hot water right here. That's not good enough. I'll be back. Man, that's cold. Hold on, hold on. Man, that's good. All right, I'm back. I accidentally left the light on. That's so sad. Okay. I'm sleepy. What time is it? 7:26. I gotta get started around 5. That's so sad. Anyway, I did want to start earlier. See what I be talking about. So we're on chapter 3. It says, that's the heading. It says, the description of a particular sort of that kind of following spirits called incubi and succubi, and what is the reason wherefore these kinds of spirits haunt most the northern and barbarous parts of the world. 5. Man, we're in the northern part of the world. That makes sense. Because I think the succubi is another way of saying succubus. A lot of people know about that one. Okay, so it says 5. The next question that I would ask is likewise concerning this first of these two kinds of spirits that you have conjoined, and it is this. You know how it is commonly written and reported that among the rest of the sorts of spirits that follow certain persons, there is one more monstrous above all the rest. In respect as it is alleged, they converse naturally with them whom they trouble and haunt with. And therefore, I would know in two things your opinion therein, herein. First, if such a thing can be, and next, if it be, whether there be a difference of sexes among these spirits or not. Epi, we close that laptop. Epi, that abominable kind of the devils abusing of men or women was called of old incubi and succubi, according to the difference of the sexes that they conversed with. By two means, this great kind of abuse might possibly be performed. The one, when the devil only as a spirit, and stealing out, that's what it says, and stealing out the sperm of a dead body, abuses them in that way. Wait a minute. I'm thinking about wet dreams and stuff like that. But let's keep going. Then it says, they not readily, I think that's how you say it. They not readily seeing any shape or feeling anything, but that which he so conveys in that part, as we read of a monastery of nuns, monastery of nuns, which were burnt for their being that way abused. The other mean is when he borrows a dead body and so visibly and as it seems to them natural as a man converses with them. But it is to be noted that in whatsoever way he uses it, that sperm seems intolerably cold to that person abused. Man, I hope on never mind. That's just weird to hear about that. Like if somebody ever say, like if a woman ever say, I hope a man never say this, but that don't mean he's gay, possibly. But if a woman ever say somebody came in her and it was cold, man, that would sound like this. That would sound like she had sex with a devil. Oh man, that's not good. Then it says, for if he steal out the nature of a quick person, it cannot be so quickly carried, but it will both time the strength and heat by the way, which it could never have had for lack of agitation, which in the time of procreation is the procurer and awakener of these two natural qualities. And if he occupies the dead body as his lodging, expel the same out thereof in the due time, it must likewise be cold by the participation with the qualities of the dead body where it comes of. And whereas you inquire if these spirits be divided in sexes or not, I think the rules of philosophy may easily resolve a man of the contrary. For it is a sure principle of that art that nothing can be divided in sexes except such living bodies as must have a natural seed to generate by. But we know spirits have no seed proper to themselves, nor yet can they gender one with another. 5. How is it, then, that they say sundry monsters have been gotten by that way? Epi, these tales are nothing but folly, for that they have no nature of their own. I have shown you already, and that the cold nature of a dead body can work nothing in generation. It is more plain, as being already dead of itself, as well as the rest of the body is, wanting the natural heat, and such other natural operation, as is necessary for working that effect. Excuse me. And in the case such a thing were possible, which were all utterly against all the rules of nature, it would be breed no monster. I mean, it would breed no monster, but only such a natural offspring as would have come between that man or woman and that other abused person, in case they both being alive and had done with one another. For the devil's part therein is but the naked, hold on, is but the naked carrying or expelling of the substance. And so it could not participate with the quality of the same. Indeed, it is possible to that craft of the devil to make a woman's bellies to swell after he has that way abused her, which he may do, either by stirring up her own humor, or by herbs, as we see beggars daily do, and when the time of her delivery should come, to make her feel great dolor, like to that natural course, and then subtly, to slip into the midwife's hands sticks, stones, or some monstrous thing brought forth some other place. But this is more reported and guessed at by others, not believed by me. All right. Then it says 5. But what is the cause that this kind of abuse is thought to be most common in such wild parts of the world as Lapland and Finland, or in our North Issel, or I'm sorry, North Issel, or I keep saying or, it's of North Issel of Orkney, which I never heard of, and Scotland. Epi, because where the devil finds greatest ignorance and barbarity, there assails he most openly. Dang. Kind of reminds me of Trump a little bit. But let's keep going. As I gave you the reason wherefore there was more witches of womankind rather than men. 5. Can any be so unhappy as to give their willing consent to the devil's vile abusing them in this form? I already know the answer to this. Epi, yeah, I already did that. Let me drink some more of this tea. Oh, word, we only got like 10 pages left. That's what I'm talking about. Man, that tea's good. It's cold too. It's a good thing it ain't a slushy. I'd probably had a brain freeze. Okay, what was I? Yeah, that's what I was. Okay, Epi. Yeah, some of the witches have confessed that he had persuaded them to give their willing consent thereunto. It's insane. Let's keep going. I'm sorry, just thinking about that. I don't know if y'all follow it or understand it, but this basically means that witches have given him consent to have sex with them. That's just insane. Anyway, out the way. Then it says that he may thereby have them fettered the more easily in his snares or traps. But as the other compelled sort is to be pitied and prayed for, so is this most highly to be punished and detested. 5. It is not the thing which we call the mire, or the Mary, which takes folks sleeping in their beds, a kind of these spirits whereof you are speaking. Epi, no, that is but a natural sickness, which the mediciners have given that name of incubus unto. I gotta combine all this word. Hold on, let's see. Ab incubando? Never seen that. But he did say incubus. That's interesting. Incubus. Then it goes on to say, because it being a thick fume falling into our breast upon the heart while we are sleeping, interludes, so our vital spirits and takes all power from us and makes us think that we're some unnatural burden or spirit lying on us and holding us down. Ha ha ha. I thought that's what he was talking about. So, let me just put a little note. So, this is what King James says that is. I don't know if I believe that. Don't know if I can prove it either. I thought it was called succubus. I'm trying to open my laptop. I can't get this open. It's so sad. Incubus and succubus. Let me see. Incubus definition. A male demon believed. They got a logo for it? Oh, that's a satanic symbol. Okay. Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, incubus can mean a nightmare. Nobody talks about that. It can also mean a cause of distress. I should have just left it right there. Hold on. I hit something. Oh, it says a cause of distress or anxiety. And then another meaning is a male demon believed to have sexual intercourse with sleeping women. Okay, so that's the male demon. According to that, let's see what succubus. This must be the woman. Succubus. Did I spell that right? I don't think I spelled it right. Wait, ain't it another one? I must have spelled it wrong. Oh well. I don't worry about that one. Oh, there it is right there. What exactly is this? Oh, I spelled it wrong. I figured. So it says succubus is understood as a Lilin demon in female form or supernatural entity that appears in dreams to seduce men, usually through sexual activity. The descriptions of the same can be traced back to the folklore of medieval times. Couldn't get it out. Okay, yeah, I spelled it wrong. Interesting. Okay. So I just moved my table around today, and it's like these cords are my foot is touching these cords a lot more than I didn't never do that until today. I like the new setup though, but dang, wow! I can see y'all can see the books behind me too. That's kind of cool. I was wondering how it was gonna look when I set this camera up. I didn't know. So, incubus. So King James says, he says, I'm gonna just read this again for everybody. It says, 5. Is it not the thing which we call the mar or Mary, which takes folks sleeping in their beds, a kind of these spirits whereof you are speaking? Epi, no, that is but a natural sickness. So this is what he says it is. A natural sickness and not a spirit. Okay, and then he says, which the mediciners have given that name of incubus. Incubus. I didn't know they gave him that name, but anyway, to bando, because it being a thick fume falling into our breasts upon the heart while we are sleeping, interludes so our vital spirits and takes all power from us and makes us think that there were some unnatural burden or spirit lying on us and holding us down. Okay. So I'm gonna make a note that they talked about the incubus right here. Okay, chapter 4. The heading says the description of the demonics and possessed, by what reason the papists may have power to cure them. Okay, now we're getting into the exorcist, or people that can cast out demons, sounds like. Let me close my laptop real quick. Okay. So it says, 5. Well, I have told you now all my doubts, and you have satisfied me therein concerning the first of these two kinds of spirits that you have conjoined. Now I am to inquire only two things at you concerning the last kind, I mean demonics. The first is, whereby shall these possessed folks be discerned from them that are troubled with a natural frenzy or mania? The next is, how can it be that they can be remedied by the papists? Remedied by the papists. I'm just highlighting that. So it says, the next is, how can it be that they can be remedied by the papist church? I like that part too. Whom we counting as heretics, it should appear that one devil should not cast out another. For then would his kingdom be divided in itself, as Christ said. Epi, as to your first question, there are diverse symptoms whereby that heavy trouble may be discerned from a natural sickness, and especially three, omitting the diverse vain signs that the papists attribute to it, such as the raging at holy water. Holy water is real, y'all. I'm just saying. Their fleeing back from the cross, their not abiding the hearing of God named, and innumerable such like vain things that were alike numerous and feckless to recite. But to come to these three symptoms, then, whereof I spake, I account the one of them to be the incredible strength of the possessed creature, which will far exceed the strength of six of the strongest and rulest of any other men that are not so troubled. This reminds me of those people that they say be on those drugs. Um, Flocka, yeah, that's one of them. And they take like 9 shots and they still not dead, or they get tased and they still be standing up. Only the ones that be on them drugs though. Well, I don't know. They might still. I don't know. It just remind me of them. Oh, let's see what else we got. Dang, that makes sense though, because some drugs can allow demons to enter us. Ah, mm, it's even reports in the newspapers about these type of drugs. Okay, I used to work in Winston Salem Journal. It's basically the media, and we used to get all the newspapers. So I used to read because that's what we do in there. Be bored. So I read something in there a long time ago about that. So it continues on to say, the next is the firming up so far of, maybe I should make a note real quick. I'm gonna just make a note. It might not mean anything, but I'm gonna just put Flocka. I don't even know how to spell it either. I'm gonna just, oh yeah, I do, yeah, I do. I never had to spell it, but here we go. I'm gonna just put Flocka. And drugs, they make you have out of body experiences. Okay. The next is the firming up so far of the patient's breast and belly with such an unnatural stirring and vehement agitation within them, and such an iron like hardness of his sinews, so stiffly bent out that it were not possible to prick out as it were the skin of any other person so far. So mightily works the devil in all the members and senses of his body, he being locally within the same, suppose, of his soul and affections thereof. He has no more power than of any other man's. The last is the speaking of sundry languages, which the patient is known by them that were acquainted with him never to have learned. Interesting. And that with an uncouth and hollow voice, and all the time of his speaking a greater motion being in his breast than in his mouth. But from this last symptom is expected such as altogether, as are altogether in the time of their possessing uh, brief, or however they would pronounce that word, of all their senses being possessed with a dumb and blind spirit, whereof Christ relieved one in the 12th chapter of Matthew. And as to your next demand, it is first to be doubted if the papists or any not professing the only true religion can relieve any of that trouble. I like how he said true religion. That's the difference. I'm gonna just highlight that. Okay. Can relieve any of that trouble. Okay, then it says, and next, in case they can, upon what respects it is possible to them. As to the former, upon these two reasons, it is grounded first that it is known of many of them to be counterfeit, which while the clergy invents for confirming of their rotten religion. The next is, I think I know what they're talking about, but let's keep going. The next is that by experience we find that few who are possessed indeed are fully cured by them, but rather the devil is content to release the bodily hurting of them for a short space, thereby to obtain the perpetual hurt of the souls of so many that by these false miracles may be induced or confirmed in the profession of that erroneous religion. That's what I was thinking too. Dang. I might not understand this, but if I understand it, it's talking about those people who you see in churches who be performing false miracles. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We see it all the time. I'm gonna just make a note. False healings. I'll call it false healings. They be having their congregation do some crazy stuff. Stupid. Drinking bleach and all that crazy stuff. Okay. So what was I? False miracles. Okay. I'm gonna start right there where it says, I'll just start where I'm gonna go back and say, it says, but the rather the devil is content to release the bodily hurting of them for a short space, thereby to obtain the perpetual hurt of the souls of so many, that by these false miracles may be induced or confirmed in the profession of that erroneous religion, even as I told you before that he does in the false cures, or casting out of diseases by witches. Oh my goodness. I never even considered it can be witches. Let's keep going. Then it says, see, this is the part of it that can get sad because you find out stuff like this. But it could be true. I mean, I never even considered it though. Let's keep going. It says, I'm thinking about these churches still that perform false miracles and healings. If they're already doing stuff like this, it could be witches in there. So I just never even thought about that. It just never came to my mind. I don't think. So that's what I'm talking about. But let's keep going. So it says, as to the other part of the argument, in case they can, which rather with reverence of the learned, thinking otherwise, I am induced to believe, by reason of the faithful report that men found of religion have made according to their fight thereof. I think if so to be, if so be, I say these may be the respects whereupon the papists may have that power. Christ gave a commission and power to his apostles to cast out devils, which they according thereunto put in execution. The rules he bade them observe in that action was fasting and prayer, which I'm going to make a note. I already got it, casting out demons. Okay. So it says fasting and prayer, the action itself to be done in his name. Excuse me. And this is confirmed in scripture too. I was just reading it where Paul casted out a demon in the Christ's name. I guess it's in there. It's in the New Testament. I think it's in Acts. I don't get it. Why not? Why not? Let me get it. I'm trying to open this laptop. I tell you, I got this laptop on top of another laptop, and it's difficult to open because I got it on top of that. Okay, we got Paul. Paul gets angry. This is how I remember it. I know it's gonna pop up like this. I think gets angry. I spelled angry wrong. And cast out a demon of a girl. Let's see what I get. I know it's in Acts. Acts 16. 16? Okay, let's see. 16. This might be it. Acts 16. Okay. 16 says, yeah, that's it. Okay. I see it in verse 18 though, but I'm gonna start at 16. So it says, do I need to start right there? I'll just start at 16. It says, and it came to pass, this is Acts 16, just so y'all know. And it came to pass, as we went to prayer, a certain damsel possessed with a spirit of divination met us, which brought her masters much gain by soothsaying. Now they also call this spirit a python. But let's keep going. Because when it says the spirit of divination, it also calls it a spirit of python. But let's keep going. So basically, just to explain this to y'all, she was like a psychic. She was a medium. She was somebody who would get information from devils and tell it to humans. So she would have information that was true, but mixed in with lies, Let's keep going. So, and this is what it's talking about. It says that, so I'm gonna read it again and y'all think like that. Think about what I just said. It says, and it came to pass as we went to prayer, a certain damsel possessed, I saw your message too, I'll read it in a minute. A damsel possessed with the spirit of divination met us, which brought her masters much gain by soothsaying. Then it says, the same followed Paul and us and cried, saying, these men are the servants of the Most High God, which showed to us the way of salvation, and this did she many days. But Paul, being grieved, turned and said to the spirit, I command you in the name of Jesus Christ to come out of her. And he came out the same hour. Check this out. And when her masters saw that the hope of their gains was gone, they called Paul and Silas and drew them into the marketplace to the rulers and brought them to the magistrates, saying, these men being Jews do exceedingly trouble our city and teach customs which sorry, y'all, it's funny. And teach customs which are not lawful for us to receive, neither to observe, being Romans. So basically, these people were mad because they lost their way of making money. So they turned to me, and so that's why I'm laughing. That money, boy, they wanted that money. Anyway, I see Bebop. Jason says 90% of the Bible is copied from all 25,000 ancient manuscripts. Some names have been changed to English or translation. Anyone that speaks against the Bible is of the devil. Okay. I thought you was talking about something else for a minute. I thought you were saying the Bible was not legit or something like that. I'm like, what? I wasn't even gonna pay no attention. All right, let's keep going. What her arm hurting. So, where was I at? Okay. Oh, it's funny. Acts 16:18. Okay, got it. So we so it says, I'm gonna go back a little bit. It says, I say these may be the respects whereupon the papists may have that power. Christ gave a commission and power to his apostles to cast out devils, which they, according thereunto, put in execution. The rules he bade them observe in that action was fasting and prayer, the action itself to be done in his name. This power of theirs proceeded not then of any virtue in them, but only in him who directed them, as was clearly proved by Judah by his having as great power in that commission as any of the rest. And then it says, it is easy then to to understand that the casting out of devils is by the virtue of fasting and prayer, and in calling of the name of God. Suppose many imperfections be in the person that is the instrument, as Christ himself teaches us of the power that false prophets shall have to cast out devils. Ooh, okay. Let me just make a note about this false prophets real quick. False prophets. It's a big thing. Okay, then it goes on to say, it is no wonder then these respects of this action being considered, that it may be possible to the papists, though erring in sundry points of religion, to accomplish this, if they use the right form prescribed by Christ herein. Interesting. For what? Wow, that reminds me of Revelation where it says, is it? Hold on, let me see. I gotta get this one. Y'all probably know. Maybe I need to say it, but the one where it says, there shall be many that say, Lord, Lord, but in that day there shall be many that say, there it is right there, Lord, 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 Lord. Hold on. Okay, let's see. Is it Matthew? I thought it was Revelation. I knew it was in the New Testament. I knew it. I just knew. Okay, Matthew 7:22. It says, many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And in your name drive out demons? And in your name, I want to get the context, y'all. I can't just read that verse. We got to get the context so y'all can see more of what I'm talking about. So, hold on. Let me get that in the book, because I can only see the verse right there. I can only see 3 verses. That might not be enough. Wait, maybe it is. Let's see. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. Here we go. But only he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons and perform many miracles? False prophets. Then it says, then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. Goodbye. I added goodbye. That's not in there. I'm just saying, like, goodbye. Go. So anyway, that's what this reminds me of, because these people, knowing the form of how to do that, can do that. Cheaters. That's what they are. They're cheaters. So, that is a good cross reference. I'm gonna try to write this one in there. Matthew 7:21-23. Got to get that one. That's a good one. I'm hot. Let me turn this heater off. Oh man, that thing is hot. You just touch it, it's hot. I'm just saying, thing is hot. Okay, hold on. So how y'all doing so far? You know, I'm an hour and 32 minutes in here. Lift that camera up, make it easier to get me in there. Matthew 7, 22 to 20, what? 21 to 22, 23? Got it. It's hot. I'm hot. Okay, let's see. So, Demonology book 3. I'm gonna try to figure out how I'm gonna cross-reference this. Because Demonology don't have any verses. So, I'm gonna just say book 3, chapter 4. That's how I'm gonna do it. Make it easy. It's book 3. Book Demonology 3, book 4, chapter 4. I'm gonna keep my tradition the same. I'm gonna just put B for book, and then 3, and then 4. That's how we're gonna do it. I keep messing up, y'all. I'm sorry. This happens from time to time. Book 3, 4. Okay, got it. Man, I'm hot. Okay, just checking. Now I'm gonna write the cross-representing demonology, and we can keep going. Okay, where was I at? The last is speaking of sundry languages. I read that. False healings, false miracles, cures, or casting out of diseases by witches. I'm thinking about who the elect are now, because I remember a scripture saying that the Antichrist or somebody was going to try to deceive the very elect. And this is one way I think he can do it, by these false preachers and prophets. Papists that may have that power. I'll just put it down here. Let's see. Power the false prophet shall have to cast out devils. Bam, right there. Matthew 7, 21 through 23. All right, I think we're caught up now. So it says, I'm gonna start back a little bit. It says, it is easy then to understand that the casting out of devils is by the virtue of fasting and prayer, and in calling of the name of God. Suppose many imperfections be in the person that is the instrument, as Christ himself teaches us the power that false prophets shall have to cast out devils. It is no wonder then these respects of this action being considered, that it may be possible to the papists, though erring in sundry points of religion, to accomplish this, if they use the right form prescribed by Christ therein. Okay. For what the worse is that action, that they erred other things more than their baptism, is the worse that they err in the other sacrament, and have created many vain attachments to the baptism itself. Goodness. 5. Surely it is no little wonder that God should permit the body of any of the faithful to be so dishonored, as to be a dwelling place to that unclean spirit. Epi. It says, there is it, which I told right now, would prove and strengthen my argument of the devil's entering in the dead bodies of the faithful. For if he is permitted to enter in their living bodies, even when they are joined with the soul, how, oh my goodness. Never thought of it like this. Let's keep going. I gotta read that again. He said, there is it which I told right now would prove and strengthen my argument of the devil's entering in the dead bodies of the faithful. For if he is permitted to enter in their living bodies, even when they are joined with the soul, how much more will God permit him to enter in their dead corrosion? Corazon. I'm probably not saying that right, but anyway, which is no more man, but the filthy and corruptible case of man. For as Christ said, it is not any that, I'm sorry, it is not anything that enters within man that defiles him, but only that which proceeds and comes from him. And I have an old note that says, wow. I was almost like that again just now. So we only got maybe two more books left. Two more chapters left, and we're done. Yeah, just two more chapters, and we're done. So here we go. Here we go. So this one is titled the description of the fourth kind of spirits called the fairies. What is possible therein, and what is but illusions? How far the dialogue entreats of all these things, and to what end? 5. Now I ask you, come on to that fourth kind of spirits, Pi. The fourth kind of spirits, which by the Gentiles was called Diana, and her wandering court, and among us was called the fairy, as I told you, or our good neighbors, was one of the sorts of illusions that was made in the time of papistry. For although it was held odious to prophesy by the devil, yet whom these kind of spirits carried away and informed, they were thought to be wisest and of best life. To speak of the many vain tales founded on that illusion, how there was a king and queen of the fairies, of such a jolly court and train as they had. Sound like Santa Claus, but anyway. Um, how they had a manner, how they had a manner and duty, as it were. They ate and drank, and did all other actions like natural men and women. I think it. I'm still laughing at me in the Santa Claus thing. I think. I'm sorry, I can't even read. I think it. I think it liker. This is what it says. It says liker. It's really spelled Liker. So I think it liker Virgil's Campi Elisi, or anything that ought to be believed by Christians, except in general, that as I spake sundry times before, the devil deluded the senses of sundry simple creatures, in making them believe that they saw and heard such things as were nothing so indeed. 5. Interesting. 5. But how can it be then that many witches have gone to death with that confession, that they have been transported with the fairy folk to such an hill, a hill, which opening they went in, and there saw a fairy queen, who being now lighter, gave them a stone that had various virtues, which as sometimes has been produced in judgment. Epod. I say that even as I said before of that imaginary ravishing of the spirit into the body, for many not the devil object. This is how it works, y'all. It says, for may not, my bad. For may not the devil object to their fantasy, their senses being dulled, and as it were asleep, such hills and houses within them, such glittering courts and streets, and whatsoever such like wherewith he pleased to delude them. And in the meantime, their bodies being senseless, to convey in their hand any stone or such like thing, which he makes them to imagine to have received in such a place. 5. But what say you to their foretelling the death of certain persons whom they allege to have seen in these places. That is a sooth dream, as they say, since they see it walking. Epi, I think that either they have not been sharply enough examined that gave so blunt a reason for their prophecies, or otherwise, I think it likewise as possible that the devil may prophesy to them when he deceives their imaginations in that sort, as well as when he plainly speaks to them at other times for their prophesying. But is but by a kind of vision, as it were, wherein he commonly counterfeits God among the ethnics, as I told you before. 5. I would know now whether these kinds of spirits may only appear to witches, or if they may also appear to any other. Wow, this is going along with another scripture. I'm not gonna read it. I'm gonna just say it. It's Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 34 1 through 7. That because it's talking about dreams and how the devil can send you dreams or demons or bad spirits. Yeah, we'll say that. So I'm gonna just put that right here. Sirach 34 1 through 7. Okay, got it. Okay. So we're on the next page, I think. I think I read that part. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, I didn't read that. Okay. So it says, Epi, they may do to both. Ha ha ha. Remember, he was asking, can they do this to? Let me make sure, y'all. Let me read this again. It says, 5. I would know now whether these kinds of spirits may only appear to witches, or if they may also appear to any other. And he says, Epi, they may do to both. To the innocent sort, either to terrorize them or to seem to be a better sort of folks than unclean spirits are, and to the witches to be a kind of safety for them, that ignorant magistrates may not punish them for it, as I told even now, but as the one sort for being. Y'all hear my loud space heater over there? See how it be distracting me? But anyway, um, it makes noises like that when it's going off after it's been turned off. Let's see what it says. Let me go back a little bit. That ignorant magistrates, I ain't gonna read that. I'm gonna start right here. But as the one sort for being perforce troubled with them ought to be pitied, so ought the other sort who may be discerned by their taking on them to prophesy by them. That sort, I say, ought as severely to be punished as any other witches, and rather the more that they go in dissemblance to work. 5. And what makes the spirits to have such different names from others? Epi, even the knavery of that same devil, who, as he deludes the necromancers with innumerable feigned names for him and his angels, as in special making Satan, Beelzebub, and Lucifer. Now remember, never mind, I ain't gonna say that. People just be making up stuff. They be saying that, never mind, forget it. I don't even think it makes sense. Let's keep going. Making Satan, Beelzebub, and Lucifer to be 3 sundry spirits, where we find the 2 former, but divers names given to the prince of all the rebelling angels by the scripture, as by Christ, the prince of all the devils is called Beelzebub in that place, which I alleged against the power of any heretics to cast out devils, by John in the Revelation. The old tempter is called Satan, the prince of all the evil angels. The tempter is called Satan, the prince of all. Oh, I already read that. My bad. I skipped the line. Well, went back up. And then it says, and the last, to wit, Lucifer, is but the allegory taken from the day star, so named in diverse places of scriptures, because of his excellence, I mean the prince of them, in creation before his fall. Even so, I say he deceives the witches by attributing to himself divers names, as if every diverse shape that he transforms himself in were a different kind of spirit. 5. But I have heard, that's a typo, but I have heard many more strange tales of this fairy than those you have told me so far. As well, oh, this is Epi, as well I do in that as I did in all the rest of my discourse. For because the ground of this conference of ours proceeded of your asking me at our meeting if there was such a thing as witches or spirits, and if they had any power, I therefore, see what I'm saying? That's my space heater, by the way. It says, I therefore have framed my whole discourse only to prove that such things are and may be, by such number of examples as I show to be possible by reason, and keeps me from dipping any further in playing the part of a dictionary. I actually laughed before when I was reading this too. I have a note that says ha 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 ha, and I'm still laughing at that. Then it goes on to say, to tell whatever I have read or heard in that purpose, which both would exceed faith and rather would seem to teach such unlawful arts, not to disallow and condemns them as it is the duty of all Christians to do. So the last, I think it's the last chapter right here. Yeah, last one. So this one is chapter 6. It says the heading is of the trial and punishment of witches, what sort of accusation ought to be emitted against them, and well, then it says, what is the cause of the increasing so far of their number in this age? Excuse me. 5. I'm sorry, I already messed that up. Then, I don't know how. Well, at least I got the T right. Hold on, that T is good. I'm telling you, the T is good. I'm sorry. I like that tea. When I buy this tea, I try to buy 2 or 3 of them. I'm trying to stock up on them because they're so good. It got this taste. It says if y'all got a Publix in your area, they sell them there. It's by Greenwise, blackberry and sage, naturally flavored brewed black tea. It's the only tea I know like that so far. It's good. It's good. All right, let's see what you said. Let me see what. Terrell Hill says Terrell will fair use scripture Mark 10:8. I don't know what that says. I don't know. Let me see. Hold on. I don't know what you cross referencing that with. Let's see. I wonder if that's one of them old ones I was looking for. Cross reference for. Let's see what you got. Mark 10:8. Mark 10. You hear them pages? I'm just messing. It's I'm sure. Okay, yeah, 10:8. It says right there. And they two shall be one flesh. So then they are no more two, but one flesh. Yeah. Why you bring that up? I don't know. Maybe I'm just lost. I don't get it. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, let's keep going though. So we're on the last chapter. My phone is, oh no, the Instacart notification. There we go. I'm sorry, y'all. I had to turn those notifications off real quick. Instacart is sending me messages. Okay, now let's keep going. So chapter 6, it says 5. Then to make an end of our conference, since I see it draws late, what form of punishment think you merits these magicians and witches, For I see that you account them to be all alike guilty. Epi, they ought to be put to death according to the law of God, and that is right. That is scripture. But I would like to also point out this. King James said that, and people don't like King James. So, seeing that a lot of them who use demonology they use this as a way to cause people not to read the Bible or the King James Version, and they also say that he was gay and a pedophile or some stuff like that. But they don't know what demonology means, they haven't read it. Now, this is something that demonology said, which is true according to scripture. But they don't know that. So let's just keep going. So he says they ought to be put to death, talking about witches, according to the law of God, the civil and imperial law, and let's see how you say this, municipal law of all Christian nations. 5. But what kind of death, I ask you? It is commonly used by fire, but that is an indifferent thing to be used in every country, according to the law or custom thereof. 5. But ought no sex, age, nor rank to be exempted? Epi, none at all. being so being so used by the lawful magistrate. That was funny. For it is the highest point of idolatry, wherein no exception is admitted by the law of God. 5. Then children may not be spared. That's right, 5, that's right. I'm sorry, y'all. 5 said that. And I said, that's right. That's right. You know, I'm sure. So anyway, Epi says, yeah. But it says, yeah, not a hair. Woo! Not a hair the less. I can't read it, y'all. I'm over here tripping. Not a hair the less of my conclusion, for they are not that capable of reason as to practice such things. As for any being man, somebody need to tell their child this. I'm telling you, I know somebody right now going through this with their child. They need to tell them this. Anyway, it says, and for any being in company or and not revealing thereof, their less and ignorant age will no doubt excuse them. 5. I see you condemn them all that are of the counsel of such crafts. Epi, no doubt. I have a note that says funny, and that's still kind of funny to me. He says, no doubt. For as I said, speaking of magic, the consulters, trusters in, overseers, entertainers, which can be magicians, or stirs up of these witches. Oh, I had a vibrate on my phone. Like, what the heck is that? But anyway, let's keep going. It says, stirs up of these witches are equally guilty within themselves. I'm about to throw that phone if it vibrates. It keep vibrating. But anyway, it says, man, it messed me up. Let me put this on the ground so I won't hear it. Now, anyway, let's keep going. It says, Epi says, no doubt. Now I gotta read it again. It says, 5. I see you condemn them all that are of the counsel of such crafts. Epi says, no doubt. For as I said, speaking of magic, the consulters, trusters in, overseers, entertainers, or stirrers up of these witches are equally guilty with themselves that are the practitioners. 5. Whether may the prince then or supreme magistrate spare or oversee any that are guilty of that craft upon some great respect known to him? Epi, the prince magistrate for further trials cause may continue the punishing of them such a certain space as he thinks convenient. But in the end to spare the life and not to strike when God bids strike, and so feverishly punish in so odious a fault and treason against God, it is not only unlawful, but doubtless no less a sin in that magistrate, nor it was in Saul the king, sparing of Agag, and that's exactly what I thought about. You disagree, God? That's it. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's keep going. So then it goes on to say, and so comparable to the sin of witchcraft itself, as Samuel alleged at that time. 5. Surely then, I think since this crime ought to be so severely punished, judges ought to beware to condemn any, but such as they are sure are guilty. Neither should the clattering report of a noble serve in so weighty a case. Epi, judges ought indeed to beware of whom they condemn, for it is a great crime, as Solomon says, to condemn the innocent as to let the guilty escape free. Neither ought the report of any one infamous person be admitted for a sufficient proof, which can stand of no law. 5. And what may a number of guilty persons' confessions work against one that is accused? Epi. The result must serve the interpreter of our law in that respect. But in my opinion, since in a matter of treason against the prince, children, or wives, or defame persons, may of our law serve for sufficient witnesses and proofs, I think surely that by a fair greater reason such witnesses may be sufficient in matters of high treason against God. For who but witches can be proved, and so witnesses of the doing of witches? 5. Indeed, I say they will be loath to put any honest man upon their trial. But what if they accuse folk to have been present at their imaginary conventions in the spirit, when their bodies lie senseless, as you have said? That's astral projection. So then he goes on saying, Epi, I think they are not a hair the less guilty, for the devil dare never have borrowed their shadow or similitude to that term, if their consent had not been added. And the consent in these terms is death of the law. 5. Then Samuel was a witch. Oh, goodness. this, this is tough. Woo, man. This. I got a note that says funny. Let's see, where's that? I got a little note that says funny from a long time ago when I read it. That's funny. It's still funny. But this is talking about when Samuel was brought back from the dead, from the witch. Oh my goodness. Now, according to this, King James is saying that that was not Samuel, that was a demon pretending to be Samuel. So this is how he looks at it. But let's read it. It says 5. Then Samuel was a witch, for the devil resembled his shape, and played his person in gluing response to Saul. Epi, Samuel was dead as well before that, and so none could slander him with meddling in that unlawful art. For the cause why, as I take it, that God will not permit Satan to use the shapes or similitude of any innocent persons at such unlawful times, is that God would not permit that any innocent persons shall be slandered with that vile defection. For then the devil would find ways anew to calumniate, however you say it, calumniate the best. And this we have improved by them that are carried with the fairy, who never see the shadows of any in that court, but of them that thereafter are tried to have been brethren and sisters of that craft. And this was likewise proved by the confession of a young lass, troubled with spirits, laid on her by witchcraft, that although she saw the shapes of divers men and women troubling her and naming the persons whom these shadows represents, yet never one of them are found to be innocent, but all clearly tried to be mostly guilty, and the most part of them confessing the same. And besides that, I think it has been seldom hard to tell of that any who is guilty of that crime accused as having known them to be their morrows by eyesight, and not by hearsay, but such as were so accused of witchcraft, could not be clearly tried on them, were at the least publicly known to be of a very evil life and reputation. So jealous is God, I say, of that fame, of the fame of them that are innocent in such causes, and besides that, there are two other good helps that may be used for their trial. The one is the finding of their mark, and the trying of the insensible nature thereof. The other is their fleeting on the water. For as in a secret murder, if the dead carcass be at any time thereafter handled by the murderer, it will gush out of blood, as if the blood were crying to the heaven for revenge of the murderer. God having appointed that secret supernatural sign for trial of that secret unnatural crime. So it appears that God has appointed. Did I just read this line again? I'm sorry, I think I read it again. Wait, maybe not. So it appears that God has appointed for a supernatural sign of monstrous impiety of the witches, that the water shall refuse to receive them in her bosom, that have shaken off them the sacred water of baptism, and willfully refuse the benefit thereof. Not, yes, it says no, my bad, no, not much. I skipped another word, I'm sorry. No, not so much as their eye are able to shed tears, threaten, and torture them as you please, while first they repent, God not permitting them to dismissible their obstinacy in so horrible a crime, albeit the womenkind especially be able otherwise to shed tears at every light occasion when they will. Yea, although it were altogether like the crocodiles. 5. Well, we have made this conference to last as long as leisure would permit. And to conclude then, since I am to take my leave of you, I ask God to purge this country of these devilish practices, for they were never so rife in these parts as they are now. Epi, I pray God that so to be. But the causes are over manifest that makes them so rife. Excuse me. It says, for the great wickedness of the people on the one part procures this horrible defection, whereby God justly punishes sin by a greater iniquity, and on the other part, the consummation of the world and our deliverance drawing near makes Satan to rage the more in his instruments. Just so people know, consummation can mean end. So it says on the other part, the consummation or end of the world and our deliverance drawing near makes Satan to rage the more in his instruments, which makes sense. Knowing his kingdom to be so near an end, and so farewell for this time. So that's it. So that's interesting why things are getting so bad, because Satan knows the end is so dear. So he's trying to cause more chaos, which goes along with more scriptures, that it would be worse in the end times. It would just get worse and worse faster. It's kind of what we're looking at now. So I see some question mark icons. Jeremiah, Yahoo, Huda, Yehuda. What's up, Jeremiah, Yahoo? I was just finishing up Demonology, man. That book was good, man. That book was funny and good, man. Some stuff in there I caught for the first time. My cheeks kind of starting to hurt from laughing. Yeah, I finished it. It was only 75 pages. Yeah, you can read it in 3 days if you just read it for like 2 hours a day, maybe less. Because some books may be shorter than others, so it's not a long read. But yeah, book was book was interesting though. I'm telling you, the book was I'm glad that last book was the funniest book. Oh man, I was cracking up. I guess I'll do a recap if I can. So if anybody catches this video and this part of it, they can get like a recap of some stuff I caught. As I only read this book twice all the way through so far. This is my second time, so I didn't catch everything and cross-reference everything. So or take notes of everything. Oh, and Jeremiah Yahoo, they did talk about false prophets in here, man. There was some sections where it was talking about that, so it went into some discussions we was talking about and gave us more info on them and how to find them. So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about how the people who bring up demonology once again in a negative way and try to get people not to read the Bible or the KJV and call him a pedophile or gay don't know what this book is about. They never read it. They don't know what demonology means. Demonology means the study of demons. And here's the scripture that encourages us to learn of the enemy's devices. So when you read this book, though, this book is about what sorcery and witchcraft and being a sorcerer and a witch and a necromancer and enchanter. Being those things can cause you to get in your, I guess, at the end of your life, or like when judgment comes, like what's going to happen to you. So he also talks about how it's unlawful to do it, and witches were supposed to be put to death according to the law of God. So King James is telling the truth. He's telling the truth on that. It was unlawful according to the law of God, and they were supposed to be put to death. That's in the Bible. And then he also talks about how witches do exist, because some people don't think they exist. They exist. And he talks about how they can cause spells, they can cast spells on people and have demons to torment people and follow them. And it talked about haunted houses, how spirits will roam in haunted houses or certain places that's solitary, which I didn't catch until tonight. I know I read it before, but I just didn't remember that. So that was interesting too, because we definitely have places that's called haunted. So, and it also talked about that they make noises in these houses, and sometimes people will see them, and it was just a lot of info. I can't even remember everything. I even remember that the evil spirits can cause tornadoes and stuff like that, or whirlwinds, hurricanes, but only in certain spots. And they're not like gods, they're not as powerful and things like that, from what I remember. And it gave a way that you can tell to know the difference. It also gave a difference between astrology and astronomy. And it says that it was lawful to look in the sky for, the stars, moon, and stuff like that, for the telling of time and things like that, based on scripture. But it also gave a difference when you learning to, I guess, like tell the weather and do stuff for the wrong reasons and stuff like that, somewhere along the way, and how they do it for money. And it was also talking about how, oh yeah, he even cross-referenced that the evil spirits can carry people from one place to another. He believed that to be possible because in Bel and the Dragon, in the Apocrypha, in chapter 136, the Holy Spirit did it to to Habakkuk. And he believed that the devil will be ready at all times to imitate God. So this is why he does some of the things that God does to imitate God. And he also went into how it's scriptures of how the devil will try to appear as an angel of light. So he would try to imitate God at all times. And he also tried to mimic the miracles that Moses was allowed to do by God through the magician. So he tried to imitate God with those. He gave examples like that. What else? else did we read? We read about a lot of stuff in here. How to fight demons in a few places by fasting and prayer and calling on the name of God, and how the false prophets or papists, basically bishops and preachers, they would try to they would use the form that Christ gave to cast out demons, so they would be able to. But it was talking about, even though they're not doing everything right in their religion, they will still be able to cast them out because they know the form of how to, because Christ taught it if they know it. But it also was talking about how um, it was just very descriptive on that, and I caught that tonight. It sounded like those churches that we see on YouTube or hear about where they got these people eating grass and putting bleach in their mouths and drinking bleach and dying, and they get these people to do a bunch of crazy things, and these preachers be trying to so-called cast out demons, and they just faking it, and it reminded me of those, and that's kind of what this reminds me of. So it even talks about that so much in this little book. I can't even tell you everything. um, we even have a cross reference to Jasher. I don't know exactly the chapter, I'll have to find it, where Abraham's dad was an idol worshiper, or around that time, and then Abraham himself was an idol worshiper too. But you don't read about that in the Bible. You just read about how Abraham's dad was an idol worshiper, but not Abraham. That's in Jasher. What else we got? It's a lot of stuff in here, but it was one thing I disagreed with. It could have been another one. Is this one I disagree with? No, that's not it. That's something else. Where he says that since Christ came, I don't know if I can find that specific part. I think I can. I gotta look. Hold on. Man, there's a whole lot here. I don't know where it is. False healings. Man, I don't know. I'm gonna just have to try to explain it, because I don't want to say anything wrong, because I wanted to like get it word for word, but I don't see it. So it was talking about how since Christ came, oh, there it is right there. This part I disagree with. He says that he says, all we that are Christians ought assuredly, my bad, to know that since the coming of Christ in the flesh and establishing of his church by the apostles, all miracles, visions, prophecies, and appearances of angels or good spirits have ceased. That part I disagree with. And there's so many scriptures that I can go into to disprove it. But I would think King James knows that. But I think he's going by certain teaching and doctrine that other preachers currently go by as well, which I still don't agree with. But I mean, Acts 10 is one where an angel appeared to this guy named Cornelius. He was fasting, and it was about the 6th hour, I think. And I can get that. I can get that right now. But it's only like two things in here that I disagree with. The other thing is when King James said that demons cannot read your thoughts. I disagree with that too. I think they can, and I think I have experience where they have. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe I said it out loud, but I don't think I did. And I think they read mine. So I'm going by my experience. King James says they can't read your thoughts. I disagree. I say they can. Now, maybe King James just never had a experience himself where they read his thoughts, but they read mine. So I disagree with them two things. But other than that, I don't got a problem with this book. This book has many good things in it. It is spiritual. It can have you fighting demons. And I mean, the stuff he said was in the Bible, a lot of it. He gave his opinions. He let you know at times, this is my opinion. So, like I'm reading one right now on page 19. He says, my opinion, it's in there. He says it a few times. So everything isn't facts. But he is saying that I believe this to be true. Sometimes he'll say, I think this can be possible, or this is my opinion. So it's not like it's a fact that everything he's saying is true, but it's a lot of good information. I think this book can benefit possibly anybody that reads it or takes the Bible serious. I think they can benefit from it. Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't think I'll sell the book. I mean, that's how good I think it is. At one point when I first read it, I thought this book was so good that everybody who reads the Bible should read this too. They should read that right along with it. That's how good I thought it was. All right, now see you said LOL false prophet. So I was just giving my little feedback. So we'll just get this scripture in Acts 10 just to show angels still appear to people. I don't know what verse it is, but it ain't gonna be hard to find. So let's see. And what about Revelation? Where the Christ appeared to John in the spirit. I mean, that's still appeared. A bit, and King James ain't got it all. I don't know what's wrong with him. Anyway, well, that was just one part that he seemed to lack understanding on, or for whatever reason he stuck with that. But I don't know what he talking about. Let's see, where did this angel appear? Okay, verse 3, Acts 10. I'll just read verse 1. It says, there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band, a devout man and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. He saw in a vision, evidently, now remember, King James says all visions ceased. Well, that's a vision. It says, he saw in a vision, evidently about the ninth hour, oh, I thought it was the 6th hour, about the ninth hour of the day, an angel of God coming into him and saying to him, well, I only need to read the rest. So that part is a lie according to King James. Now, I mean, I don't know why he's sticking with that. I don't know why the preachers stick with it and people teach that all prophecies are done away with, but whatever. It's right there. And you got more. I mean, what about in Revelation where Christ appeared to John? What's going on? I don't get it. I don't know what's going on. I mean, something. Whatever. So that's why I don't agree with him. But other than that, everything was pretty good. I mean, I don't got no problem with. I don't think I have any other problems with anything he said. So that's that. What time is it? Dang, time go by so fast. Well, I better get out of here. Try to get ready for tomorrow. Y'all can let me know what y'all thought in the comments if you got down this point in the video. And Jeremiah Yahoo says, me too. I think they can too. I just read. I didn't even see it when you shared it. You talking about the visions and stuff, or what? I don't know which part. You say me too. I think they can too. Oh, read your thoughts. I think you're talking about that. I think that's what you're talking about. And I think you even found scriptures where they can read thoughts, like in the Clementine homilies or somewhere. I think you actually got scriptures that talk about. I think you read it to me before. If that's what you're talking about. Destiny Smith says, thanks for the lesson. Looking forward to the next one. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm gonna do next. Okay. You're welcome. Appreciate you joining me and everybody else. But yeah, man, I'm gonna get out of here and try to get some things done that I ain't did all day. And the sun is set. Thank God. All right, we're out of here. Peace be to the saints. Oh man, I be tripping, y'all.